It's Mindset Monday, coming at you with energetic and tactical tips to help you level up your life and your week. Let's get it. Hello, friends. Today's episode is the plane story. If you listened to episode 2 when I interviewed Sandy and Wade Critides, you heard me reference 2 or 3 times how you should listen to the first episode where I share my background and the story of what made me drop out of the corporate world. But there was one problem. I didn't actually tell this story in episode 1. We recorded the interview first, and by the time I finally got over my imposter syndrome to record episode 1, it had gotten pretty long, and this part was left off. So, here we go. I hope you enjoy this story and hearing the law of attraction hard at work. On June 10th, 2021, my life changed. I got complete clarity and quit a multiple 6-figure job at Google. Here's what happened, but first, some backstory. Owning a home in Maui had been part of my vision board and my why for some time. My husband and I first went there together shortly after getting engaged, and owning a home there was a shared dream. That dream became a reality in May of this year. And before this serendipitous plane meeting that you'll hear about in a moment, I had been at our condo with my husband for a whole week, and we worked long, hard days getting our home ready to become a vacation rental and an income property. We didn't really relax while we were there. We just worked our butts off. But when we did stop for a meal or to run errands, the conversations we had with people were just different. We had meaningful conversations and made meaningful connections with every server we had when we went out to eat. And we kept getting lucky with things. For example, I had ordered a bed on Wayfair, and when we put it together, it looked like crappy dollhouse furniture. There was no way that this could be in the condo. And so I listed it on Craigslist, sold it to a very nice man who happened to be from Newport Beach, California. And oddly enough, he had been home on the mainland the week before and had dined at my parents' restaurant. How's that for coincidence? I don't believe in coincidence, by the way, but we'll just use that word. Another lucky break was when it came time to replace all of the appliances in our condo. So if any of you have either dealt with buying items in Hawaii, or if you have tried to buy appliances lately, you know that there is a major backlog due to COVID supply chain issues. And if you're familiar with Hawaii, you know how hard it is to get things on island. It can take weeks, if not longer. So we go into Home Depot, we pick out a microwave, a stove/oven, a dishwasher, and a refrigerator that we like. 3 of the 4 items are in stock. This is unheard of, especially right now. They're in stock because a special order was canceled. And oh, by the way, the fridge is en route for the special order that was canceled, and it ended up being delivered 4 weeks later ahead of schedule while we happened to be on island. The same thing happened when we went to buy a new bed, since we got rid of the doll furniture bed. We go to a furniture store, and I am not exaggerating, the only bed we liked in the entire store happened to be in stock, available for delivery, because of a special order being canceled. There was another strange thing that happened. So we didn't relax this whole trip, except for one afternoon. We went to the spa at the Andaz, which is arguably our favorite spa in the entire world. If you've been there, you know. And we're hanging out at the Serenity pool after our treatments. And our server, Cynthia, who we befriended, she comes up with a bottle of champagne and she says, "You won't believe what just happened. There's a couple here at the pool. They want to remain anonymous, but they sent this bottle of champagne over to you because they just love your vibe and your energy, and they want you to just keep on keeping on." I mean, stuff like this never happens to us, right? Like, we're pleasant and all of that, but like, no one's sending us free champagne. So needless to say, I think it was the fact that we were just abounding in gratitude at this dream coming true. We were just operating on a very different frequency that whole week. And so things like this kept happening. And then we get on the flight home and divine intervention strikes, I think, as a result of this as well. So before we talk about that, I have to give you a little bit more backstory. So if you listen to the first episode, you know a little bit of this. So I started a side hustle with a network marketing company about 20 months ago, 5 months before joining Google. And I put my professional skills and leadership abilities to good use with this opportunity. And then fast forward a few months, COVID hits, and my network marketing team has the foundation and the systems in place to scale massively very quickly. So we went from 32 people on April 1st to over 700 today. And what I realized thanks to that experience is that, it was amazing becoming this top leader in my company, but the more amazing thing were all the lives that I could touch. And I realized my calling was to mentor, coach, inspire, and motivate people, especially women. And I wanted to do something that would remind people of who they authentically are. Like, that's what I knew my purpose needed to be. So if we compare that to my professional role in tech, I loved being in tech sales, and it was an amazing career for over 8 years. But once I realized what I was meant to do, it was just not fulfilling or purposeful for me anymore. And I would get horrible anxiety. I know so many of you listening to this can relate. The Sunday scaries that I would have, the anxiety all through the week, it was no joke. And so it had been tugging at me for at least 6 months before this plane meeting that I was out of alignment and not doing what God put me on the earth to do. And, don't get me wrong though. Like, I love technology. I love the innovation of cloud technology specifically. That's the exact space that I was in. I was so humbled, so grateful for the opportunity to work at Google. But nevertheless, I was out of alignment. And I intuitively knew I was meant to have a larger and more individualized impact than I ever could in tech sales. So the day we fly home from Maui, there was a call that further highlighted my misalignment professionally. I had a call with a chief technology officer that I was working on a 7-figure deal with. And this deal was not bad for him or his company by any stretch, but it also wasn't great. I just didn't have any more that I could give him to make it more enticing and appealing. And I could tell that there was hesitation on his end, and both of us could feel the pressure to get this signed, which is not a great place to be. So he and I meet one-on-one and have a come to Jesus meeting, so to speak. And we both were just completely honest. We shared why we weren't enthusiastic about the deal. We shared, the different hesitations and things that had been coming up for us. And it was just so honest and so refreshing. And that was that. We put the deal to bed. And I felt this weight lift off my chest. And then right after that, off to the airport we went. So back to what happened on the plane. Jeff and I both have status with American Airlines. I have to say this too, because I know he'll listen to this episode and I'll hear about it if I don't say this part. He has a much higher status than me. I am but a low-level gold member, and he's executive platinum. So, the upgrade was thanks to him. Okay, you're welcome, honey. So we both have status, and when we get to the boarding area, while the plane is boarding, actually, we find out we've been upgraded to first class. These are the last 2 seats in first class on what was supposed to be a full flight. The one catch is that the seats are not together, which, no problem. We'll take the upgrade. If our seatmates will switch, great. And if not, Who cares? We just spent a week together. It's all good. So we board. Jeff's in row 3. I'm in row 5. We both have window seats. We ask his seatmate on the aisle if he will switch. And he's a religious aisle guy. So he's like, oh, I would, but I can't. I got to have the aisle. No worries. You paid for it. You enjoy it. I go back to row 5 and I ask my seatmate if she'll switch. And she says, I can't. These 2 girls across the aisle, they're my daughters, and I got to be near my girls. And I said, hey, no problem. You paid for the seats. You enjoy them. Have a great flight. I'm just happy to not be in coach, is what I said to her. So I sit down, I put on my noise-canceling headphones, and I put on a podcast episode that I had been meaning to listen to. And the podcast was Getting Magnetic, hosted by my friends Sandy and Wade. And in this episode, they're interviewing my business coach at the time, Dr. Melissa Hinault. The topic, leaving the corporate world. Now, I knew all 3 of these people well at this point. And I'd heard these stories before, but I picked up on all these nuggets of wisdom that I hadn't caught or heard before. And I took 5 pages of notes listening to this episode. And I remember the episode ends and I'm like, oh my God, I need to just take the leap and quit. I know I'm not meant to be doing this. And it's causing me so much anxiety, and I have got to pursue my calling. I just wish I knew it was the right time, and I wish I had a sign. Well, right then, the flight attendant, RJ from San Clemente, which is where I live, by the way, another quote unquote coincidence, he walks up and he asks what I'd like to drink. So I order a Tito's soda and lime. And my seatmate, Jody, says, hey, that's what I drink. Make it 2. And then we start to chat. So here's the thing. I am not a plain talker. Like, not at all. In fact, I wear the noise canceling headphones not to cancel out noise, but so that people leave me alone. Don't get me wrong. I love people. I love conversation, but I cannot stand like surface level, boring conversation, let alone for 6 hours. And so I don't want to get stuck in a conversation like that, especially on a 6-hour flight. So I just avoid it altogether. And I figured, picture me, I got the headphone lifted off of one ear. So I'm kind of involved in the conversation, but I've also got like the easy out. Like I'm listening to something really compelling and I might need to put the headphone back on at any time. Like that's what's going on here, right? I figure we're just going to chat for like a quick second, chat about our mutual love of vodka from Austin, Texas, and that'll be that, right? But the universe had other ideas. And so a couple minutes into chatting, Jody says to me, I have to confess something, which is a really good way to get someone's attention, by the way. And she says to me, I couldn't switch my seat, but I wouldn't have anyway, because I knew when you walked towards me that we were meant to sit together, and I knew I needed to talk to you. So at this point, I fully removed the headphones. Okay, they're coming off, going in my lap. I am wide-eyed. I am all ears. And I say, okay, you've got my undivided attention. What do you need to tell me? And you got to remember, I was asking for a sign only moments earlier. So Jody proceeds to tell me she is a top leader in a network marketing company. She's been doing it about 2 years. Loves the company, loves her team, but she knows she's meant to have an even broader impact. And I just remain poker faced, but I'm like, you just described me to me. And so I say, okay, go on. And she continues that since we took off, and she'd been on her laptop the whole time, since we took off, I've been writing my business plan for a coaching and personal development company that I'm starting. Well, unbeknownst to her, 1 week prior, I created an LLC called Rising Tide Coaching and Development, because a rising tide lifts all ships. And actually, this LLC was kind of an afterthought. I met with our lawyer to set up an LLC for my network marketing business finally, as well as for this rental property. And I said, hey, out of curiosity, I'm thinking about starting up a coaching business, and I'm thinking about maybe doing a podcast at some point. I don't know when though. And I'm thinking about writing a book. What would it cost to just do one more LLC? And so this was like a total afterthought. And anyway, I look at Jody and I tell her, well, get out of town, because I too am a top leader in a network marketing company. Love the company, love my team, love the products, but I know I'm meant for more. I am meant to impact more people outside of it. And funny enough, I happened to create an LLC for a coaching and development company just last week. And after a pregnant pause, I say, this is the sign I've been asking for, that it's time to quit my job and go all in. And Jody looks at me knowingly and she says, I know it's the sign. That's why I knew I needed to talk to you. Folks, I don't know if you've asked for a lot of signs in your life or if you've received them. I ask for them and receive them regularly, and this is a first that the sign confirms that it is the sign. It really doesn't get any clearer than that. So we proceed to drink Tito's and soda for the next 5 hours, talking nonstop. And yes, since the flight, we have remained in close touch. I know that she will be a friend for many, many, many years to come. And we get to LAX, we land, and as we're deplaning, I walk from my row up to my husband's, and he looks at me and he says, oh my God, you're drunk. Again, Tito's for 5 hours at altitudes, probably not a great idea. And I replied to him, yes, I am, and I'm quitting my job tomorrow. And so the next day, in a one-on-one with my boss, I did just that. We discussed this deal that I told you about earlier that didn't come to pass. And after we had done that post-mortem conversation, she says to me, how are you feeling? And I told her, honestly, not good. I'm out of alignment. I'm not living my purpose. I know what I'm meant to do. I told her the plane story. I told her the champagne at the pool story. And to her credit, she was so supportive, so gracious, and really encouraged me to do what I felt called to do. So I closed my final deal, finished out the quarter, and now here we are. Was quitting a high-paying job scary as hell? Yes. Especially considering that we had gone way over budget on fixing up that condo in Maui. But nevertheless, I felt like an elephant had stepped off my chest. So if you are in a similar situation where you're not doing what you're meant to be doing, and you do know what you are meant to be doing, I'm here to tell you there's never going to be a perfect time. Sometimes you just need to go for it. Leap and the net will appear. But here's the thing, you also create the net. So right now, start taking steps to build that net in the form of savings or passive income streams. You need to have that in place as a backup, because here's the thing, things won't go to plan. There will be some hiccups. It will take you longer to launch than you think. It's going to make it much easier to jump off that cliff and not have to sell out when things get tough or when the money dries up. So that safety net, that is your freedom, and that is your ability to stay true to yourself and your vision. Another thing I have to share is that as I was contemplating whether or not to leave Google, which again, if you listen to episode 1, you know that was my dream job. And here I am, not even 2 years later, contemplating leaving it. But here's the thing, and I shared this with my boss. I said, I'm not doing anyone any favors staying in this role if it's not what I'm meant to be doing. I'm not doing me any favors. I'm not doing her or the company or all the other people that I could be serving, right? Like, I need to be in alignment with what I'm here for. So remember, many roles are stepping stones. They're preparing you and equipping you with skills and the network that will help you serve later on and that will lay the foundation for your success. Despite that though, like even when you know you're doing what you're meant to be doing, you still need to be checking in with yourself and be ready to pivot and tweak and adjust when it's time. So that's what I did. I pivoted, and I cannot wait to serve you, the listener, you, the mom who is so tired and so burned out and trying to do it all. I hear you. I feel you. I see you. This show is for you to help inspire and set you free. And I pray that it will help to do that even in some small way. Whether it is the recent college grad who can't find their footing in the world and doesn't know what they want to be when they grow up, which I got to tell you, none of us know. We're all figuring it out. Even me, I know my purpose, but I know I'm still going to end up pivoting a lot, right? But it's for you too, to just help you on that course to find what you're meant to do. And there's so many others outside of those groups too that I know will be impacted by this. And I'm just so grateful to have met Jody on the plane and to have gotten back in alignment so that I can be of service. If this story inspired you, gave you chills, resonated with you in any way, please take this as a reminder to dream again. You were created uniquely for this moment in time. What is it you're here to do? You're not here by accident or by coincidence. You are here for a purpose. And if you don't know what that is yet, I hope I can help you find that answer either through this podcast or in a one-on-one conversation. Finally, at the time of recording, we are in the midst of the Great Resignation. Record numbers of people leaving their jobs and not seeking new ones. A record of 4 million Americans left the workforce in April of 2021. You know, this last year, it cracked us open, made us reassess our values and our priorities. If you're included in that number of people resigning, or you wish that you were included in it, but you need a plan or direction, my goal is to help you get out and do what you're meant to do. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you so much for listening to the show. If today's episode added value to your life in some way, please subscribe, leave a 5-star review, and share it with someone who needs this. I'd love to connect with you on Instagram and hear how the show has inspired you. So tag me or slide into the DMs. Find me at Corporate Dropout Official or Alacia Citro. That's ALESSIACITRO and 2 underscores. Until next time, remember that you're a badass, stay focused, stay hungry, and dare to drop out.